Afterthought heel then on the lace socks. Now, we've obviously got Afterthought heel on the plainer socks as well. If you are struggling to kind of see, because there's less of a contrast with using pink on pink, maybe go and have a look at that video, because it's worked in the same way. The only difference is the sort of setup, and it's it's a very minimal difference. But let's just get started and see how we get on. Now, what you are going to need for this is you're going to need some stitch markers again. And Anna refers to red and green stitch markers in her pattern. And absolutely promise you it was a complete fluke that I found these. They obviously don't have to be red or green. They just need to be different, so you can allocate one of them to the start of the round and one of them to the end of the round. Okay, so I just want to say that as well. Right, up until this point, when we've been working our lovely lace socks, we've been working by joining the end of each round and doing those 2 chain, and off we go and off we go. The heel is worked in the sort of similar way to the toe, in that it is worked in a continuous spiral, so there'll be no fastening off at the ends of each round. Right, we're going to be joining our yarn in this bottom right hand corner. The toe is at the bottom, the cuff is at the top. So that is the point we're going to be joining the yarn. I'm just going to flip it open like that. And I'm going to join the yarn into that sort of first space there. It's it will be intuitive. If you flip it back like that, it's literally the first available space. So I'm going to put my hook through, and I'm going to pull through a loop of yarn and pull it through again to secure. And that's going to count as my first double crochet. Now, in total, around this opening, we need to have 58 stitches. So 29 across the part that we're now going to work and 29 across the other. So just bear that in mind as you work along. Now, as you work along this first section, this lovely wavy section, you want to be putting a double crochet into every stitch and every chain space. Okay, so there's kind of 2 stitches going up the side of a fan, and then a double crochet in the chain space, and then 2 stitches coming down the other side of the fan. 1, 2, and then you've got a stitch in the top of that puff, then 2 more going up the fan. And then into the chain space, and that's how you're going to be working all the way along. I would suggest, because it is quite tricky to see where to put stitches, I would suggest having a little count as you go and making adjustments before you get all the way to the end. Like I said, you should be aiming for 29 stitches across this bottom part. 25, 26, 27, 28. Oh, don't know whether that's a next one along or not. I'm going to just put one in there and call that 29. Think, don't you? So there we go, 29 stitches on this half. It's evened out, it's kind of evened out the what do I mean, the sort of rippled edge a bit, hasn't it, putting in those double crochets. There's 29 there. At this point we need to put in a stitch marker. Now we're putting in the red one, which we've used on our toe. The red one denotes the halfway point of the round, not the beginning of the round, the halfway point of the round. So whichever stitch marker you've used to denote your halfway point, please pop that in that stitch, that 29th stitch. Okay, now when let me do it that way. So I've come along that part. I'm now going to kind of flip it round, flip the cuff down and carry on working along the top part here, and I need to put another 29 stitches double crochet stitches along here. What we've got here is we're working into the underneath of that chain that we made when we separated for the heel. So we're going to put 29 more stitches in there, and it's a little easier, I think, to see where they go, just about. Okay, so work your way along and put your 29 stitches along this side as well. Okay, I'm just coming along the last few now. 26, I think. $28, and I'm going to put the last one in there, 29. Woohoo! Right, so I am going to just double check my stitch count in a moment, but with a fair wind I should have 58 stitches in total there. And on my last stitch I'm going to put my green marker. Now don't forget, the green marker is just whatever marker you've chosen to denote the beginning of the round. So if I've taken my hook out here, if I just shut or bring that back into line, you can see the beginning of the round is on the top side up here, the end of the round, the middle of the round is on the other side of the sock. And we're ready to go now with 58 lovely double crochet stitches. So we're now going to start round 1 of the heel. Right, so round 1 of our Afterthought heel. What we're actually going to do is almost a reverse of what we've done for the toe. So with the toe we started with fewer stitches and we increased to get the amount of stitches that we need to make the actual sock. With the Afterthought here, we're going to go the other way. We've started with a lot of stitches and we're going to decrease down to get fewer stitches. And the way we're going to do our decreases is by double crocheting stitches together. So at the beginning of round 1, we're going to double crochet 2 together. Now don't forget, we're working in a spiral, so we haven't had to fasten off or anything like that. So double crocheting 2 together, all I'm doing is I'm putting my hook through the first stitch, pulling the yarn through. Now this is where I'd normally finish my stitch, isn't it? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put my hook through the next stitch as well, pull the yarn through, and I've now got 3 loops on the hook. Now I'm going to pick up my yarn and pass it through all 3 of those loops. Okay, so I've now taken, where there were 2 double crochet, I've taken it down to 1 stitch, and that's my decreasing that I'm going to use throughout. All right, so now what I'm going to do is work all the way along, put a 1 double crochet all the way along here until 2 stitches before this marked stitch. And when I get to 2 stitches before that stitch, we'll do another decrease. So let me whiz along there and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so I'm now 2 stitches before the red marker, and I'm going to do that double crochet 2 together again. So yarn through, hook through the first stitch, pull up a loop, hook through the second stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and through all 3 loops. Okay, so that's my next decrease there. Now I'm going to put a stitch, just 1 stitch in the stitch with the marker, and replace that marker straight away so I don't get in a pickle. And I'm going to do the decrease on the other side of the marker as well. So again, do you remember when we were doing the toe, we increased each side of the marker, didn't we? Increased each side of the marker. We're now just decreasing each side of the marker, so just reversing what we've already done. Right, so I've moved my marker up. I'm now going to do another double crochet 2 together. Okay, and same again, work all the way across to 2 stitches before the green one, and double decrease over there as well. So let's whiz across there and we'll do that last decrease and then have a little chat. Okay, so I'm two stitches before the green marker now, and I'm going to do my final decrease for this first round. Okay, and that is it actually. That's a sort of, I guess, a setup round really, because the next round is just a straightforward double crochet all the way around into every stitch, okay, that is there, moving the stitch markers as you go, just as we did with the toe. And then on round 3, that's when you go back to doing your decreases each side of your stitch marker, and that is it for the Afterthought heel. You've just got to repeat, you've just got to do your decrease every other round, alternate it with a plain round of double crochet in every stitch, and you're going to keep going like that. Keep going until you get to 26 stitches, and I will see you at that point and we'll see how to finish off. To finish off, look at the video which is part 6, closing the Afterthought heel. That's applicable to both styles of socks.